Good afternoon, Peoria. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Tim Iden. I'm with the City of Peoria, Office of Communications. I'm the Digital Media Manager, and we are here for a live Q&A today to hear what questions you have about arts in Peoria and arts around the valley. Joining us, we have three very special guests. I have Joseph Benish, who is with the Arizona Citizens for the Arts. And we have Mary Lou Stevens. She's with the City of Peoria. She is the Arts and Events Manager. Got all of them right so far. That's good. And finally, Micah Bentley. He is a local musician, artist, and just all-around awesome guy. Would you like that for an introduction? Yeah, there we go. I figured we'd be informal right off the bat. So we're here to talk about arts. Most importantly, we're here to hear your questions. So feel free to put them right here on the Facebook post, and we will address them as they go along. But first, let's learn just a little bit about our three panelists. Micah, I'd like to start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, I'm a local singer-songwriter. Grew up right here in Peoria and spent some time traveling, touring the country with music. And now I work at a local church as the art director right here in Old Town Peoria. And I'm just super passionate and involved with growing the culture of art in this community. So.
Yeah, we appreciate everything that you have done. Pretty much every event I've come to in Old Town Peoria, whether you're playing or whether you're hanging out, I see you here. Cool. So we appreciate everything that you've been doing. Mary Lou, you work with the city. Tell us what you do.
I do. I'm the Arts and Events Manager. I like to tell people I have the best job in the world, although Joseph might try to fight me on that one because we both have pretty good jobs. I've been with the city now almost 3 years. I love Peoria. I'm actually a native of Scottsdale, so I grew up in Arizona. I've lived in several cities, and ever since I was young enough to walk, I've been involved in the arts in some way. And most recently, prior to coming to Peoria, I was involved with Phoenix Theater, and that was a great passion project for me. I really enjoyed the work I did there, and it just segued perfectly to Peoria because there's a real desire here to build a wonderful and robust arts program throughout the city. So I'm really grateful to be a part of that.
Yeah, and for you, those of you who have seen the resurgence, I don't want to know if resurgence, the blossoming of arts in Peoria, and it really has been amazing. I have to give a lot of that credit to Mary Lou, and I don't think anyone in the city is going to argue with me because you have just been amazing for the city. So thank you for everything you do. Yeah, oh, you're blushing a little there. Joseph, please give us a little bit of your background and what you do.
Well, my background is I'm actually a product of the arts. In school, my senior year, I was going to drop out, and they had auditions for the school play, which I had done already, so I auditioned and I got in. And that is what kept me in school, because high schools have that weird rule that you have to attend high school to participate in those activities. So I was able to graduate and then find a career in the arts. So my background is mostly theater. That's where we know each other from way back in the day. And now I work in arts advocacy. So my organization now, essentially I'm the lobbyist for the arts in Arizona, but I'm the good kind of lobbyist. I'm not the kind that fights for cigarettes or, more drugs in your, jelly beans or whatever it is. So now I'm not the actual lobbyist, we have a lobbyist, but now I fight for the arts around the state of Arizona.
Fantastic. So we have our local representatives and our state representatives, and I love that we have this holistic look at the arts in the valley. So we're going to jump back to Mary Lou again. We're talking about the arts today, and that's just such a open-ended term, and it can mean a lot of different things. What do the arts mean to you?
Well, it's an interesting question because I think that you ask 100 people, you're going to get 100 different answers. And I guess that's what I like about it. It's very diverse. I think most importantly, the arts need to be accessible. And that's really what I'm working towards here in Peoria, is that everyone should have the opportunity to experience the arts, whether it's live music, whether it's painting, whether it's puppetry. There's a variety of different ways you can experience the arts. And quite frankly, not every single one is for every person. There are certain plays that I love, there are certain museums that I love, there are others that I don't love, and that's kind of what's cool about the arts, is that you have this opportunity to try things out. And I think what's most important, and what I like to let people know, is that you don't have to be an expert. No expertise required, just a love for trying something new and experiencing something new. And if you try something and you're like, yeah, that's not for me, you've probably gained some great experience in terms of determining what is your art form, what is your calling, what makes your heart sing. And so I sometimes encourage people to try things they don't necessarily like or don't think they're going to like. They might get surprised, or they might be like, nope, I really don't like that, and that's okay too. And I think that that's kind of the fun that we can have in the arts, is give everyone an opportunity. And I think what happens as we get older, we start to say, oh, well, I can't draw, or I can't sing, or I can't, and I'd rather say, let's try. And that first lesson you learn in improv is yes and. So rather than saying no and stopping the game, it's more like yes, and what else can we do? How can we involve more people?
Mike, I'm going to just carry on with that same question, because I know a lot of people will say, well, I'm not into the arts, or I'm not an artist, and because they're thinking of the ballet. So can you give me an idea of, what would you say to somebody that was like, oh, the arts, that's for stuffy people?
Yeah, I think the arts are the expression of what's within each of us. So however you can choose to express what's within you is a form of art. It's a form of expression and a form of creativity, and everybody is creative. I don't care who you are or what you do. Everybody has creativity in them. And so I think it's more of just fostering and nurturing creativity in our community and culture.
I really love that you use the word creative. It's one of my personal beefs when people, including a lot of my artist friends, say everybody can be an artist. I think that's totally false, and there's not only falsehoods. Everybody is creative, and that can manifest in any of the sectors or jobs that we have.
Or can be creative.
Or can be creative. But being an artist is hard. You know, whether you're a professional artist, a part-time artist, or just kind of do it on the side with your family or in the privacy of your own home, being an artist is really hard. It takes dedication and practice and training. Doesn't mean it's going to be good or bad. Everybody has to like it, but it's really hard. And then I also want to add on to what Mary Lou said, because the arts we're almost too much everywhere all the time. You know, people who say they don't participate in the arts, they do, they just don't realize it. And I want to challenge people to kind of stop saying that. Like, here's the only way you don't participate in the arts. You get up in the morning in your gray room with gray sheets, you put on your gray clothes, and then when you drive in your car, you don't turn on the radio, and then maybe you do your job. You don't look at the architecture or the public art you're passing by through your windows. You block out your windows on your car. You get home, and you stare at a gray wall. Because otherwise, if you're taking in any movies, TV, streaming services, any music, viewing the beautiful architecture, murals, and maybe you don't like them, you know, that's still a choice, still something going on in your brain. Unless you're willing to block all of that out, everybody participates in the arts every single day, from the choices, you know, clothing choices you choose in the morning to, you know, what you drive by every day in your own city.
And I think that, you know, begs the question about public art, because somebody actually asked me when I said we're doing this, they asked me, and I'm flabbergasted by this question, but where can I find public art in Peoria? And I said, open your eyes. But what is your answer to that one?
So that's a great question, and it depends on how you want to define public art, because we have wonderful art pieces out in the community. So if you look at the Four Corners area, we have Blooming Spire. It's a beautiful piece that was recently put in. We have several murals in the area. We have one right here at the Performing Arts Center, right on the outside, that was just dedicated. We have quite a few pieces in the Old Town area, and that was an area that first started in terms of adding art to the areas, but now we're starting to branch out to other parts of the city. We have a new piece that'll be going in place probably in January. It's called Barrel Cactus. It'll be in Deer Village Park. So we're trying to find those public places where people, as many people as possible, can enjoy the art. But in addition to those pieces, those sculptures, those murals, we also have things like Second Saturday, where you can come and hear musicians. We have free concerts at the PCPA, Peoria Center for the Performing Arts. We have some wonderful programs here through Arizona Broadway Theater and through TheaterWorks. So it goes everywhere from free all the way up to ticketed items, but we also have two places you can find that information on Facebook and Instagram. So if you follow Peoria AZ Arts and Events on Instagram or Facebook, you can see as we're posting when things are coming up. So we try to get everybody involved in that. And we also have a wonderful art collection just within our municipal buildings. So we purchase from many local painters and artists many of the pieces that they put in Celebration of Artists each year. and we make sure that those go into our collection. So we're supporting the artists that work and live here.
Fantastic. So let's switch gears a little bit, and I'd like to talk about the funding for the arts. Can you talk a little bit about maybe funding for the arts statewide?
Yeah, so that's a pretty simple question. Our legislators down at the Capitol, they're from all over Arizona. Every year, usually in March-ish, at the end of the session, they put money for various things in the budget. The biggest thing our state, and I think all states fund, is education. So your public schools are all funded by state dollars primarily. And then is public safety, health and wellness, and then usually further down the line is arts and culture. Every state does a different amount. Unfortunately, Arizona is on the lower end of that per capita. But it comes from the legislators putting that in, and then they all vote on it, and then the governor approves it. The challenge with Arizona is we have never been in the baseline. We have to get added in every year, which is kind of an uphill battle. We're one of the few states that doesn't have it as part of our standard. But they do that, and that's my job, is to try to help convince them to do that by activating other people to call and show up and meet our legislators. But it happens there, and then it gets given out by an organization called Arizona Commission on the Arts. And that's given out through a public process. They get community members who review the applications across the state. And so my job is to help get the money, and the commission has the good job of giving it out.
How about here in Peoria, Mary Lou? How do we, because we've got a lot of public art, how do we get money for that? And the other arts projects we do?
Sort of similar process. But the funding is interesting. So we have what's called a general fund, and if you know anything about municipalities and how we're run, the biggest thing that we fund is usually police and safety. So safety, fire, that's our biggest expenditure. And the general fund funds the majority of things in our city. However, public art is not funded through the general fund. We have what's called a Percent for the Arts program, and this is very typical for many, many cities across the country, and it's a great way to make sure that arts are funded. And what that is for every capital improvement project that the city takes on, they are required to take from the total of that capital improvement project 1% and put it in a fund for the arts. And so with that fund, we can continue to fund all of the programs that you see on a daily basis, and including sculptures and performing arts and all of that.
So it sounds like that 1% is built into our, I don't know how to say it.
It's in our ordinance.
It's in our ordinance. So we have that money available, and we use it for all of the amazing projects that people see around the city. And like I said, Mary Lou has done an amazing job making that blossom. And I want to move on to Micah, and I want to move on to a different topic because you are part of that blossoming. We have this really cool new, we've only done it once, our second one is coming up November 9th, program called Second Saturdays. And Micah, you've been integral in helping create that. Can you just tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, so it started about a year ago. Mary Lou came to me recognizing just my activity in the local area with the music, my connection to the broader music scene, and so we started a Music on the Plaza event that was kind of a scattered Saturdays throughout the year, where we booked and put on these free outdoor concerts, and that was a great starting point, and that has now turned into this consistent second Saturday each month, where we're now able to bring in 6 to 8 bands or musicians, singer-songwriters, all people who create original music, and showcase them at these Second Saturday events. So it's cool to see how that's grown and developed into what it is now, and it's going to be exciting to see where it goes.
And it was a really eclectic. I was at Second Saturdays last 2 weekends ago.
October 12th.
Yeah.
There you go, October 12th, and
It was
I just
amazing.
had an unbelievable, amazing time. It was a blast. But can you talk a little bit about kind of the eclectic group of from singer-songwriters to somebody playing the flute? Like, can you talk a little bit about that mix?
Yeah, I mean, believe it or not, Arizona has an amazing music scene and music culture, and the West Side has this connotation that it's removed from that, but it really, there's not only a ton of local musicians from this side of the valley, but all throughout, we're trying to connect it all. We're trying to bring artists from all over the valley to Peoria, and then also showcase the artists that exist here. And so I've been at least blessed enough to at least begin to start that networking and start to meet and connect more and more with more local artists. that I'm aware of, and we're also getting requests and submissions as well. And so yeah, it was cool to start to just put those together and connect those artists to the event and have that really organic, raw feel for it.
Yeah, it felt like when you walked from one side to the other, you were just getting something different the whole way. And you can stop and you can listen for 10 minutes and you can go somewhere else and really listen to somebody completely different. And that was just such a cool experience. Mary Lou, I know your job is arts and events manager, but I'm going to call you an architect because that's what you did. You're the architect of some of these events. Tell me a little bit more about Second Saturdays.
So that's a great word, because I think my job is really about connections. So it's finding the right people with other connections and bringing them together, and finding people who care, who have the capacity and the passion for these kind of projects. Because when government comes in and says we're going to do this project, there's somewhat skepticism, right? There's like, well, why do we need that? Why do we want that? So it's really about finding those people that are committed to growing something that's going to be a connector for the community. And I think that finding Micah, I knew right away that we kind of had the same creative juices going in that direction. He knows so many great people, and really looking to find those that have that positivity, because it's not going to start out as being the biggest event since whatever. And I don't know that we want it to be that. I think we really want it to be more of a place where people can come and just kind of choose your own adventure and enjoy what pieces you like and feel comfortable and feel like there's a sense of community. And I think for me, what I was super excited about on October 12th was that the vibe felt like people coming together for like purposes, but very diverse groups of people. So it was really kind of an interesting evening. The people I met, I sat at dinner while Micah was serenading us. It was wonderful. And I sat at dinner with a couple who said, yeah, we live not far from here. We walked over and we've been dying for something like this in our community. It was like you answered our prayers. And I said, gosh, could you do a live spot for us? But they were like, we're just looking for a place where we can find other people to connect with. And so I hope that people will continue to find that space there. It's really about, you'll hear the word placemaking probably overused, but really all that says to me is it's a place where I can come and find my people and be comfortable and relax and enjoy an evening. And of course the weather was perfect, so that didn't hurt either.
And actually that was going to lead me to a question for Joseph, and the reason why I wanted to ask you is because we were table mates. And so first of all, I'd like to know what your, as an outsider, if you will, take on Second Saturdays is. And second of all, will you tell us a little bit about that experience of pop-up dining, maybe explain what pop-up dining is, and tell people about your experience.
Yeah, well, first off, it was an amazing night. I have been down to Peoria a lot. Actually, used to work down here. I did used to work for Theater Works, so I might be a little bit biased. But it was an amazing night. It was everything that they talked about. It was organic. It was artists on the street. It was people coming together. It was families. It was everything that you want in a city space, in a public space. And the pop-up dinner was, for me, a major, fun component of it, because it was dinner outside. She ordered beautiful weather. I don't know who she paid to get that weather in.
Connections.
And it's just a reminder that we're all connected, and that's both what arts and culture does. It's what people do. Arts and culture, arts for short, is the glue that kind of holds us together. So, architect's a great word. I agree. You were able to architect a space where these organic things could happen, and people met each other for the first time. Families could see other families out and know, that they were together. There was eyes on each other, which brings safety, in a community way. And so it was just hands down a huge success. If I may add on to that, for the people that really pay attention, I know a lot of policymakers that understand this. Arts and culture has always led that kind of activity, community-based activity, and economic development. Every major city across the country has had periods of recession. Even New York in the 60s had all these empty warehouses. Who moved in first? It's always been the artists. We have a great case study in downtown Phoenix. Roosevelt Row, the First Fridays has been going on for 32 years. Artists move in first, they're comfortable in these empty warehouses and these open lots, and they just start making stuff. Sometimes it's beautiful, sometimes it's different. And it's all good, because once the artists move in, then other people come in to watch the art, then the restaurants move in to feed the artists, then residential moves in, then developers move in. So we see artists leading, rebuilding cities decade after decade, and a lot of people are starting to wake up to this. Because I didn't know this early on when I was a theater person, and now I know it, and now it's a big part of what I like to talk about.
We do have a couple questions coming in on Facebook, but this has led really well, I think, to a segue into Old Town. And it's just the amount of art in Old Town is amazing. First, I'm going to ask Mary Lou, can you tell us a little bit about the art scene, including theater works in Old Town, as well as the pots and that sort of thing? And then can you tell us, after Mary Lou, a little bit more about some of the other arts venues in Old Town, Driftwood and things going on down there? Thank you. So Mary Lou, tell us a little bit about, I think we have a new phrase, Old Town, New Vibe. What's the new vibe about?
Old Town New Vibe, yes. So Theater Works is our resident company and our managing tenant at the Peoria Center for the Performing Arts. They have been there since the opening of that building, which was 2007, but they've been in existence for over 33 years. So they had other locations prior to coming to Old Town. And that building was actually built in a partnership, if you will, with the nonprofit Theater Works. So having them in that part of our city is truly a gem that people probably should know about if you don't already know about it. The programming they do goes all the way from age 4 to age beyond 64. So they have everything for the toddlers in our community all the way up to a new program called Broadway Senior. They have puppet shows, they have youth programming, they have summer camps, they have a main stage productions that they do. So they're really, and I forgot, adaptive. So our adaptive community also. So they're serving such a huge, vast array of our community. We also have other artists that use the space as well. So we have a dance company that rents from there. We have churches that are, as a matter of fact, Axiom Church at one point was a tenant in that facility before they got their own facility. So it's that building is certainly kind of an important asset to Old Town. And Theater Works, by managing that facility as well as producing all of the art that they do there, are really serving a wide variety of needs in our community. And for that, I don't know if we even give them enough credit for that. We're also very grateful, even up the road, just not to get out of Old Town for a second, but in our PD3 Entertainment District, we also have Arizona Broadway Theater, which is also doing completely amazing work as well. And so between these two theaters right here in Peoria, I mean, most cities of our size don't even have one great theater company. We have two. I mean, we're so lucky to have that. And then in terms of just the other art in Old Town, we've had a variety of people come together. The What's Happening Arts Movement, certainly our council members are all very, very supportive of the things that we're doing in Old Town. So those beautiful art pots that you see, those were created by a number of Old Town residents as well as businesses through What's Happening Arts Movement and through the support of council member Vicki Hunt. And then we just added to it. So we kind of spread them out further and added colorful pots with beautiful plant sculptures to just make them highlight even more. And I think it just gives kind of a nice little pop to the street, and it's welcoming, and color. Color's always nice to have. So.
And honestly, there's so much in Old Town Peoria that you're not even mentioning all of it. We just recently painted our streets. I mean, you can't walk around Old Town Peoria without tripping over some. I shouldn't say.
Don't trip.
I should not say it that way. Rewind. Without, I don't want to say running into either. Without seeing some beautiful art. Tell us about the street painting.
Yes. So that was actually also a community effort. We had a meeting back. Gosh, was it June? I think it was last June. So we had a community meeting. There was some interest by our mayor and council to see some placemaking projects come together, and we really identified that we wanted it to be a local effort. So we didn't want to go out and do a major call to artists for a big, vast process. We wanted it to be local. And so each organization in Old Town kind of decided amongst themselves who was going to take what intersection and what they were going to paint. And it was kind of a beautiful process, actually, because I kind of handed it to them and said, here's your parameters, work within that, and then I was just there to kind of help the process along. So now when you walk through Old Town, there are in fact, 5 intersections that have beautiful art painted in the streets. And it was a pilot program. We're going to see how long it lasts, how long it wears, and what we need to do in the future. You know, maybe in a couple of years we decide to go back in and paint something new. But so far they're holding up pretty well.
So, Micah, in the last year, I've been to Driftwood Coffee to see a musician, to go to an art exhibit, and to get a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So, tell me what's going on down there.
Yeah, so I work for Axiom Church. We just were drawn to the Old Town Peoria area and have a heart for revitalization and just a heart for the community. But we didn't want to build another church at all. We wanted to build a space for the community, a venue space. We host yoga in there. We host concerts, art shows, meetings, and then we built out the corner of the space for a craft coffee shop. And so then we partnered with Driftwood Coffee to come in and really be the hub of our space, and then they've done that. So they always rotate out different artists every month. There's new art going up in there, and they're always hosting really cool, unique events as well. So it's amazing to have watched that vision come to life with Driftwood and our building. And just up the street, actually my mom just opened a shop called the Grand Project Shop. It's a boutique, decor, furniture, but they also host events and display lots of different art there as well. So there's a lot of like unique things popping up.
And speaking of which, we're actually going to interview them next week to do a story on events in Old Town.
Well, and it was super cool on Second Saturday. They had a steel drum player in there, and they had a kids table where the kids were all doing crafts, and it was pretty lively over there. And they're right off of Grand Avenue, so they're kind of on the opposite side of things. They had tons of people in there.
It's cool to see those new things popping up in Peoria. Mike, I'm sorry I'm jumping on you once again, but I think you're probably the best person to ask this. There are some local artists watching this right now, or will watch it later on Facebook, and they're thinking to themselves, this is awesome. I didn't know Peoria was this awesome. How do I get involved? What do I do to get involved in this scene?
I think the starting place could be Second Saturdays. We have a submission process that's pretty easy to get in with through AZ Street Market. Desiree, who does an amazing job, shout out to her as well for orchestrating and hosting Second Saturdays. And through her website, azstreetmarket.com, there's a link for Second Saturdays, and you can basically just submit that you're interested in being a part of Second Saturdays as an artist, and then someone will get in touch with you. So that's just comes to mind for me. Yeah. And then organically, I think just coming and attending these creative events, being a part of it, just networking with people, meeting other artists will naturally, I think, create opportunity.
And I meet so many cool people at these events. And like I said, we're going to do an interview next week with the Grand Avenue shops because we met at the Second Saturdays. Do you want to add to that, Mary Lou? How do I get involved?
Well, first, I just have to get back on Desiree Byrne. So Desiree, who runs AZ Street Market and who's really the person that I brought on board to kind of fulfill this further mission of expanding Music on the Plaza into Second Saturday. She's a Peoria-based business. So again, local businesswoman, working really hard. This is a passion project for her, so she wants to see it successful. So she doesn't lose her mind when I text her and call her 12 times a day with questions and things, because she wants to really see this be a thing. And that's why getting Micah involved, getting Axiom involved, getting the local businesses involved. Because what I said about Second Saturday, we've done all kinds of events before, and many times the complaint from the business community is, well, your event is impeding my business, right? You're closing streets, you're in my way, you're not making things better. And so we wanted to take a different approach with Second Saturday. We wanted it to be an enhancement to those businesses as opposed to feeling like we're in their way. And so that's really been kind of an overriding important kind of mantra that we say to ourselves and keeping them involved. And additionally, in terms of getting involved, I would also recommend TheaterWorks is a really great place. If you're somebody who thinks you'd like to be on stage, believe it or not, I've actually performed on that stage before. And when you say that being an artist is hard work, it is so true. It is so hard. But it's a great opportunity if you're somebody who's thinking you want to try it, or you have children who are interested, summer camp is a great place to get started. If you're an adult and think, gosh, I used to really like high school drama, I'd like to get back into it, TheaterWorks is a great place to get that start. Their commitment is to really bringing up the new artist and giving them that coaching and that training and that support, a really supportive environment to where you can try your craft. Now, I'm not going to say you're going to always get cast because it is competitive. They are a really high level, amazing production company. What they do is incredible. But even the act of auditioning will continue to make you better. So that's another avenue. Iron Key Studio, we haven't mentioned them. They're right at the corner of Washington and 83rd, and Melissa and Scott are very supportive of local artists. They have a beautiful gallery in that space. They have space upstairs where you can utilize space for all kinds of art projects. So Iron Key is a great place.
She said we're all going to go get tattoos right after
Yeah.
this.
Right.
We are.
And
It's going to be a thing.
I'm
Won't they
so
wear it?
I'm so sorry to interrupt because it just brings to mind. While I was at Second Saturdays, I heard people several times in several different areas say, "I had no idea this was here," and that made me so happy. I don't think people realize we have an art studio, a tattoo studio, and an art studio in Old Town Peoria. Did you hear the same thing?
All the time. I still hear that about TheaterWorks, and they've been there for, I can't do that math, 12 years.
Yeah. If you haven't been to
So-
Old Town Peoria, it's just really a cool place.
This is, if I may, and this is going to fall in my advocacy role, but another thing that the arts do so well, the return on the arts, the return on investment, government investment, it's one of the few things government can put money into that actually has
A return.
a strong return.
It's true.
That the studies, depending on where you go, are anywhere from 8-to-1 to 20-to-1 return. Because arts and culture is a community, it's a people-centered business. So when people go out to participate in arts, whether it's walking to the galleries or going to the theater,
Yeah.
or going to see live music, they're going to get dressed up, they're going to go buy dinner, maybe go afterwards for dessert or wine or something. So it is a generator for people, and it is, as I said before, that connector.
Prior to, when I lived in Tucson, I worked for a major real estate company, and I was in charge of the relocation department. And so I worked with very large companies that were moving major companies to the Tucson area. And the first two things they would always ask me when we were getting ready to take their 500 employees out on the town to figure out where they were going to live and how they were going to invest in the community, they always asked about the schools, and they always asked about the art scene. And those two things are real drivers in terms of where people want to locate and where they want to be and how they want to be involved. They want stuff to do. And although we love living in our backyards and having our pools and our beautiful skyline, we also want to have this ability to connect. And so I think that hasn't changed. When you talk in real estate about location, it's so true because you base your location based on what you like to do. And so in Peoria, we're really fortunate because we have this incredible outdoor space with our trails and our parks. We have this ability to have this wonderful historic old town. We have this new part of Peoria with Lake Pleasant. So literally in Peoria, you can do just about everything a major large metropolitan city can do in the comfort of this beautiful, kind of feels a little bit like a small town. Even though we're growing, it still has that feel of a small town. So
Okay, you've convinced us, right? Everyone out there listening is now the biggest supporter of the arts. Joseph, what would you say to somebody that says, how can I support the arts? I know that there's not a lot of government funding coming to the arts. What can I do?
First is to go to Second Saturdays.
Thank you for that one.
Seriously,
Yeah.
just get out, buy tickets to your local art venues, or buy some local art, from the galleries or the coffee shops. If you're able, find an organization that you care about and donate to them, because the other people that we serve, besides just the ticket buyers at organizations and audiences, are the people that Mary Lou talked about earlier. The arts serve vets really well with free program for veterans who are suffering from PTSD. We serve seniors, we serve children, we serve people with different abilities, and a lot of that stuff is not. We don't charge them for that. So we need the public support so that way we can really take care of everybody. The arts shouldn't be purely exclusive. So get out, support your local organizations, and then if you're able, take that extra step and put them on your monthly donation checklist. And call your legislators and meet your legislators and tell them everything that you've learned today and how important the arts are to your whole community and have them put it in the state budget.
That's fantastic.
I would
Mary Lou, please.
also add
Yes.
that if you are someone who is so inclined, volunteerism is a great way to get involved. And it can be something as simple as, you know, being an usher at your local community theater, or it could be something as high level as being on a board of directors. And all of that is really, really appreciated because, quite frankly, the arts can't survive without their volunteers. And I'm a big advocate of artists who create art and who are artists for a living should be paid to do what they do. So I'm not asking artists to be volunteers. I'm asking for those of us who love the arts. I find as many opportunities as I can to volunteer so that I know that the artists that I want in my community can thrive. And so that's another way to get involved.
Mike, as an artist, is there anything you have to add to that?
Kind of in the same vein, just go to the events, go to the concerts.
What do you say to people that say there's nothing to do? It does frustrate me
Oh,
sometimes too, because, you know, all the things we just talked about, and it's going to be Friday night, and people say there's nothing to do.
Yeah, open your eyes. There's a lot going on. There's a lot happening in the local music scene, the local art scene.
So if I may, I've thought about this a lot over the
Yeah.
years, and I've lived and worked all over the valley. I think it's a historical sort of cultural perception problem that we have that there's nothing to do. So you know, the valley and the state did a really good job for a long time of promoting our culture and our climate and golf.
Yes.
And there was value to that. Like, let's
Yep.
promote our climate and golf, and people came here for that, and that was awesome. They just left out the arts and culture piece that we have really, really beautifully and strongly. So it's not in our heads. You know, when you go to other cities that are known for their culture, you know, New York's or Chicago's or San Francisco's, people know right away, oh, I can find something, so they're going to go open the weekly or click on something online. We just collectively need to remind ourselves and each other and our friends and family and the people, you know, watching and listening. You will find stuff when you look for it. We just have to remind people that there are things out there.
And like Mary Lou said earlier, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and not just us, but, you know, if pay attention to the newspapers. We're all trying to get the message out there. You just got to look for it.
It's very hard because, you know, marketing budgets are not big enough. They're never going to be big enough to hit everybody out there. And so one of the hardest things that I have is when someone comes to me and says, oh, I didn't know about that. And I probably spend far too much time on Facebook just looking at events and clicking interested just so I can keep them on my radar because there's so many things going on. Many times on a weekend, I've got 6 different events on a particular Saturday, and I'm trying to figure out how to get to all of them. So there is a lot going on, but I think the way we communicate is different. So if you go to my parents' generation, they were used to getting the Sunday paper and looking in there for the theater reviews or seeing what's playing at the movies. My mother-in-law literally called me the other day. She goes, I don't know how to find out what's playing at the movies anymore because they're not smartphone app. They don't have that aptitude. And so things are changing and shifting in terms of how we communicate. So we just have to probably find a better way to keep getting that information out. And hopefully encouraging people to utilize things like, I mean, I hate to say it if you're not a social media buff and you don't want to use Facebook and Instagram, but that seems to be the most direct route that we have. You know, it's hard when you put a thing like a print budget together. It's expensive. Newspaper budgets, radio, TV, those are all really expensive ways to communicate. They're effective. They cost more money.
And I might add, you know, just go to your web browser, type in, you know, Arts Peoria, and something's going to pop up.
We hope so. Yes.
I got 2 Facebook questions for you.
Great.
So here we go. Facebook question number 1. Again, this one's going to go for Mary Lou. I think I know the answer to this one. Do we have an artist in residence? Is that a thing?
That's a great question.
Okay.
And we don't.
But we do
And-
have some programs like Influx, right? Is that kind of along those veins? I don't really know what an artist in residence is. Please.
Well, it depends. You can describe it in a number of ways. So in my past theater life, an artist in residence is somebody that's with you for a term, whether it's a season or longer, and they have specific duties that you've assigned to them, whether it's new work development or they're there to direct certain pieces, or in a school setting you might have a like a drum artist come in, and they're in there to teach the number of classes. So there's different ways to approach that. That's a great question, and it's certainly, I probably should mention that in order to utilize the Percent for the Arts Fund, we have what's similar to the state. We have an arts commission for the city made up of 7 community members, and those arts commissioners really help direct how we spend that Percent for the Arts money. And this would be a great question to bring to them about how we could incorporate an artist in residence. But since you brought up Influx, I will address that. Influx is a temporary art program. It was actually started in Scottsdale 9 years ago. And now it involves several, right now 6 cities are involved in the next phase. And it allows new and emerging artists who are interested in getting into public art the opportunity to apply for smaller public art projects that are on display for a year. And, you know, because some art projects are really gargantuan and really monstrosities, if you will, in terms of their size and scope. And it's very hard for the new artist to break into that. So that's what Influx does. This is the first year that Peoria has participated. We have 2 pieces, one at each of our libraries, at Main Library and Sunrise Mountain. And we will be participating again in this coming year with 2 pieces at those libraries as well.
I'm going to answer the last question, so I'm going to look straight at the camera here and answer the last question, and then I'm going to throw it back to you, because why not? Somebody asked, who do I talk to about sidewalk improvement? So I think Public Works, I'll get you the phone number for them. But it's kind of weird they posted it on the arts page, so I'm just going to assume for a second maybe they were asking a question like, what if I want to bring art to my community?
Great question. And so the arts department, arts and events, is part of a new department, newly created department a year ago called Neighborhood and Human Services. And that's really part of our directive, if you will. Our mantra is to get to the neighborhoods and understand the unique needs of each neighborhood and what is it that you want. So if your neighborhood is interested in having block parties, or if your neighborhood has an interest in doing a public art piece in your park, or if your neighborhood, there could be 100 different things, but that's really our mission and our goal. But you're certainly welcome to contact me directly on if you think that there's a possible art project in your neighborhood that you can get community involvement on, you want to know how to do that, be happy to help. We also have an arts grants program that allows organizations, right now it's for any type of organization, nonprofit or for-profit, whatever art program you might be interested in putting together, and there are funds available, and that happens, it goes out every end of January, and it closes, the applications close in like April, and then it gets funded once it goes through Mayor and Council. It goes to the Arts Commission, then goes to Mayor and Council for approval, but you can get funding for a lot of arts programs in the community. It has to be in Peoria.
And I do want to mention again, this is being broadcast on a couple different channels, but if you're looking for this information, please, please, please follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. We have an arts page specifically just for the arts. We have a main page where we put a lot of this information, so please follow us on Instagram. We're going to wrap it up, but we're going to start with Micah, and I'm going to put you on the spot. You get the last word. So can you where can we find out more information about you? Do you have anything you want to say for more information on everything that you do? Go ahead and
Everything that I do.
yes. Here's your chance to close this out. If you have any final
Shameless plugs.
well, if you have any final statements about arts in Peoria, and then please let us know where you can find out more about Micah Bentley, because we really do appreciate you coming here and talking.
I appreciate it. For me personally, I have a lot of music out. Anywhere you can find music, if you look up Micah Bentley, find it, that would be a huge support for me. Otherwise, really just, I can't stress enough just the value of Second Saturdays, and really just, if you weren't at this last one, come check out this next one. I promise you'll have a good time.
And I follow you, and you had a Spotify playlist on the other day I listened to. So there,
cool.
yeah, there you go. That's my Saturday Spotify playlist. Joseph, I'm going to jump over to you. Last words, anything you want to add? I know we didn't talk much about your organization, Arizona Citizens for the Arts. Is there anything you'd like to add?
That's okay. Really what I want people to take away from this, from my seat, is to get out and vote. Mm-hmm. You know, we are great together, and we want our voices to be heard. And I know I was guilty of this when I was a young man, and so I'm saying, like, don't be like young Joseph. Show up and vote. We can make a difference together, and together we will choose collectively which direction we're going. We need to come back together, and especially at the voting box.
Great. Thank you really so much for coming today and kind of representing the regional voice, if you will. We really do appreciate it. And that, of course, gives Mary Lou the final word on arts in Peoria.
So I probably would be in big trouble if I didn't also mention that Peoria is probably the hub for having the most incredible events beyond Second Saturdays. So for many, many years, our special events team has really knocked it out of the ballpark in many ways. And we also, by the way, have a sports complex right up the road too. We literally have everything here. So I would also say that it's really important for all of us to know that we're not going to please 100% of people 100% of the time. And so the only way that we have the opportunity to improve and to grow and to get better is for you to communicate with us as well. So if there's something that's not working at an event or in your neighborhood, or if you just want to express your feelings about what direction we're going in the arts and in events, I am really open to that. It won't hurt my feelings. I want to know. I'm a public servant. My job is to really serve the public and to ensure that we are delivering quality programs and doing the best that we can to hit a diverse audience, right? So you may not like this art piece, and I like to think of Peoria as a very large art museum, a large exhibit. And you might not like the west wing of the exhibit. That might not be your flavor, but maybe this piece is. So we're hoping to really be as diversified as possible, but also we really not necessarily can't be all things to all people, but we try to hear everything that the community wants and to do our best to incorporate that. And the way we do that is by involving people in the process. So I would just welcome you to call me, beat me if you want to chat with me.
I told you she was awesome. We'll get your email. We'll put it right on the bottom of here so people can reach out, because she really is the arts guru here in Peoria. And thank you again for everything you do. And I want to add that really Old Town Peoria is the place. Peoria is the place. We say Peoria is a place where our stories are told through art. And that art can be anything from music to the sculptures out front to going to theater works, whatever you are into. And if you're not, experiment. Try to find something new. Peoria has everything that you're looking for. Thank you very much for joining us on Facebook Live. I'm Tim Iden. This is Peoria Channel 11, Office of Communications. Thank you again to our panelists. And we bid you farewell. Go watch the World Series. Woo! Have a good night.